Hello and welcome back to Misrepresented. I'm your host, Lisa Opie, and before we start today's episode, I have to thank PinkApple Dresses for dressing us today in these fabulous hot pink outfits, Beauty by LadyCode for our hair and makeup, and the Code Creatives for our production. Today's guest is Alysa Bainbridge, a TV host, mental health advocate, and accomplished pageant competitor. She's held titles like Miss Pennsylvania 2022 and Miss Delaware USA 2024, and has competed on both the Miss America and Miss USA stages. Alysa is also the founder of Tyler's Triumph, a nonprofit honoring her brother and supporting mental health and addiction recovery. When she's not wearing a crown, you can catch her on 6 ABC Action News in Philadelphia and on QVC as the brand ambassador. Welcome, Alysa. How are you?
I'm so excited to be here
I'm so
in sunny
excited.
Florida.
Yes. How was your trip down?
Honestly, easy. We had a nice flight yesterday. We had some time to hit the beach, enjoyed the
Love
Broadwalk,
that.
different than the
Yes.
Jersey Shore Boardwalk, I have learned.
Right, the Hollywood Broadwalk.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm in the presence of a pageant legend because you have been on the stage of both Miss America and Miss USA.
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen very often. So could you tell me a little bit about the difference between the two and your pageant journey?
Yeah, that's my most asked question is the difference. And they are very different. I loved
Yes.
each experience in their own right, and I think I got different things out of them. So in terms of my pageant experience, I kind of have been doing pageants my whole life. I always say I was born into them. It was my sport growing up. My mom ran a pageant since before I was born. I just grew up in a family of Miss America fans in particular. My mom would take us out of school every year for the Miss America Show Us Your Shoes parade. We would go to Atlantic City because we lived so close.
Oh my God.
So my dream was actually always Miss America. That was the ultimate goal. So I started just doing little festival pageants. I was junior Miss Apple Dumpling when I was
How old
9
were
years
you?
old.
Oh, 9.
Yeah. And then I got into some bigger pageants and eventually found my way into the Miss America's Outstanding Teen program.
Wow.
I begged my mom to let me do it. I was 15. Had no real experience in the Miss America system yet, but I knew that was my goal. So I got involved as a teen, competed 3 times. I won Miss Pennsylvania's Outstanding Teen and got to go to Miss America's Outstanding
Oh
Teen.
my gosh.
Yeah, and then I knew I wanted to be Miss Pennsylvania. That was always the goal. I actually met Miss Pennsylvania when I was 9 years old at a parade when I was junior Miss Apple Dumpling.
Oh my
Miss
gosh.
Pennsylvania was right behind me in a parade, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. And I met her, and that's kind of where that dream was planted. Like I had to be Miss Pennsylvania one day. So I competed. I tried 4 times for Miss
Wow.
Pennsylvania. I won on my 4th try. And I got to go to Miss America, which was always my dream. A little different than I always dreamed because, like I said, I grew up so close to Atlantic City and watching Miss America in Atlantic City. I competed in Uncasville, Connecticut instead.
Wow.
But, just to say that I got to live out that dream, something that I had said when I was 9 years old and I made it happen. I felt so fulfilled in that, but I decided I wanted to continue my pageant journey. So gave up my title of Miss Pennsylvania. I actually ended up moving to Delaware, not too far from where I live in Pennsylvania, but I moved to Delaware. I knew that the Miss Delaware USA program was really well run and well respected in Delaware. I have an incredible director,
Yes, we love
Vincenza.
Vincenza.
I had met her through the pageant network before that. And I decided to compete. I said, why not? USA looks fun. It would be really cool to get to go to Miss America and Miss USA. And didn't really think much of it. I didn't think I would win right away, but I tried one time at Miss Delaware USA and wound up at Miss USA a couple months later.
I can't say I'm surprised because you are such a USA girl. I feel like you have the look and the vibe and the energy of a Miss USA girl. And I know I told you when I was doing your makeup, you remind me of Noelia so much in so many
the highest
ways.
compliment.
Yes, she's so beautiful. So a couple of follow-up questions because I want to ask you, it's a commonly asked question for a lot of teens transitioning to Miss. Was it hard going from Outstanding Teen to Miss America?
Yes.
Is that why it took 4 times?
Yes. And I think especially, yes, competing in the same state, people always see you as that teenager. So you kind of have to try to rebrand yourself and make people believe I'm a miss now. I'm a grown adult.
I heard it's really hard.
It is. And especially those first couple of years transitioning, it's hard when you're an 18-year-old, you just got to college and you're competing against women who are 26 and established in their lives. And now that I've reached that point in my life, I totally understand. And I realized why it took me 4 tries to be Miss Pennsylvania, and I'm really thankful because I got so much life experience during that time. I graduated from college. I started working a job as a news reporter and gained so much life experience for that I think it made me a better Miss Pennsylvania in the long run, and I won at the right time.
I love that. It's always about trusting God's timing with pageants, I feel like, and in life in general.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for girls that are transitioning from teen to Miss?
Yeah, I stay true to you. I think a lot of people were trying to force the change in me, like stop wearing pink. You're not a teen, but I'm a pink girl through
And
and
she's
through.
still wearing
If you
pink.
can't tell, my Miss USA gown was hot pink.
I love it.
So I went into Miss USA, especially I think as myself, and that's kind of my overarching advice in general. You're going to have a lot of voices, especially when you do achieve that state title and you're going to these pageants like Miss America, Miss USA. There's going to be a lot of voices telling you what they think you need to do and who they think you need to be to win. But I've found that I have walked out of national experiences, even if I didn't make the top 15, whatever. But if I feel so proud of my performance and I feel like I was genuinely me on stage and through the process, that is what meant more to me. So I left Miss USA feeling so thrilled because I went in completely as myself. I wore what I wanted to wear. I showed, my hot pink bubbly self I wasn't afraid to, and I left Miss USA just so satisfied and content in what I brought. So truly stick to you, what you know and you love. And I know, especially going from teen to Miss, it can be hard trying to rebrand yourself, and there's ways to do it. Maybe dress a little bit mature. You can still have your pink in there, but
I love that.
Stay true to you while just shifting a little bit to be more of a Miss.
I love that. And now I want to hear all about your experience at Miss America, and then we'll talk about USA.
Yes. So Miss America, like I said, I competed in Uncasville, Connecticut in the middle of winter. So that was an experience.
Where is that even?
At the Mohegan Sun Casino. That's pretty much all there is. It's miles away from anything else.
Okay.
So we spent the whole week inside the Mohegan Sun, but we did start the week really fun in New York City. So we arrived in New York City and we did get to do some really cool things. We got to ring the NASDAQ bell, kind of explore New York City. So that first day at Miss America was really awesome, high energy. And then it was really just a week of rehearsals back to back all the time. And it was actually weird and so different from my Miss USA experience in that there were nights at Miss America we were back in our rooms by 6 p.m. Which is unheard of at a national pageant. We ordered room service, kind of hung out. It gave you a really good opportunity to get to know your roommate. And
bonding.
We were kind of stuck in our rooms. We weren't allowed out of our hallway at Miss America. Like once you're in your room, very high security, which is understandable. But amazing experience in that I made some of my best friends at Miss America that I still talk to. We have a reunion coming up. We talk in our group chat almost every single day. So that was the best thing to come out of my Miss America experience was the other women that I competed with and the friendships that I gained there, because you spend so much time with people and you go through this life-altering experience that only so few women have experienced. I think it bonds you forever. Absolutely. And the same thing goes for Miss USA. I would say Miss USA experience was all about the glam. It was the most glamorous experience I will ever have in my life. So Miss USA was all about the amazing outfits. We got to do some really fun things in Hollywood. We saw Santa Monica Pier. Wow. Did all kinds of fun stuff. So I'd say overall that experience was just super glamorous. It was televised, big, beautiful stage, and I loved the Miss USA experience for that reason. I would say it was more exhausting. There were nights we had swimsuit fittings at 1 a.m, and then we were up for hair and makeup at 3:30.
3:30.
So yes, it was that whirlwind kind of that you think about for a national pageant, but it was so much fun.
Oh, I love that. Did it meet your expectations, Miss USA?
I would say it did. I went into Miss USA kind of for that reason, for the fun of it, the glamorous national experience. That's really what I wanted out of it. I kind of wanted one more shot to just do it my way. Go in completely as me, wear the hot pink gown that I was too scared to wear at Miss America, and just do what I wanted to do. And I did. I went into Miss USA kind of focused on that with no expectations, and I just ended up loving the experience. I didn't put so much pressure on myself.
I love that. So now I want to talk about mental health, because that was such a big topic during Miss USA, this past year with Noelia stepping down because of her mental health. Yeah. And as an advocate, I want to know, how do you feel? How did it feel competing there, knowing that the previous queen stepped down?
Yeah, I completely respect Noelia's decision as a mental health advocate. I loved that she was taking a stand for that. And mental health in pageants is something I've been talking about in particular for a long time. I think
so important.
It's so important. We see, Chesley Christ and what happened. So many women in these kind of arenas of life. Chesley worked on TV. She did pageants. We are such high achieving, goal oriented individuals that a lot of times we just try to keep going and keep doing, and we push down all of those feelings. And I know that's an experience I've had in my own life. I put so much just internal pressure. We certainly have pressure from outside to be perfect, look perfect, but so much internal pressure that a lot of the time we don't talk about because we want to present as having it all together and doing it all. And we reach those points where we break down, we put too much pressure on ourselves. So I really respected that Noelia took a stand and was talking about something like that and recognizing when she needed to step back and it was becoming too much for her. And I think more of us need to do that. We need to put our mental health first, especially in positions like these. People look at us and they think we're living this high life, this amazing life, and they don't realize the internal struggles that everyone has. We go through them too, right? And it's especially harder to deal with them in the public eye.
I completely agree. So let's kind of talk about your mental health journey and like what inspired you to make that your platform.
Yeah, so the inspiration actually came from outside of myself. So I grew up as one of 3 kids. I had 2 siblings, an older brother and a younger sister, and both of them struggled pretty severely with mental illness. So my brother grew up in a time when mental health wasn't really talked about. We didn't know those warning signs. So from the time he was in about 5th grade, he kind of would be struggling. Some days he'd be the life of the party. He'd be getting these amazing grades. He'd be doing great. And then other times it would seem like he would go through these phases where he didn't want to come out of his room. And he was dealing with what we later learned was depression. And ultimately he found himself battling opioid addiction. He was self-treating these symptoms of what he later learned was bipolar disorder. When undiagnosed for years, he suffered in silence for years, but unfortunately had fallen into this addiction because he had started self-medicating. And I actually lost my brother in 2018 to an opioid overdose.
I'm so sorry.
So it took his life. I was actually advocating for mental health and recovery even before that. He was really generous. Both of my siblings were really generous in wanting me to share their story. They saw that I had this platform through pageants, and they were more than willing to allow me to share their stories as an example. So I was already talking about it, but losing my brother definitely added that other layer to this platform. So my family started a nonprofit organization in his memory called Tyler's Triumph. And we do 2 primary things. So we work to provide resources and financial support to people who are in recovery. So whether they need money to be able to go back to school and really get back on their feet in their recovery journey, or maybe they need money to live in sober living housing, we provide that to people. And also we work to provide education about early mental health intervention. And that's kind of where my sister's story comes into play. I said she also struggled pretty seriously, but she's several years younger than my brother. There was a little bit more conversation about mental health, and she actually started exhibiting signs of mental health issues when she was 5. So she immediately was, seeing psychologists, and she was getting into therapy. She's been on medications now. She's about to graduate from college since she was 5, and she's really learned how to take care of her mental health. She got that early intervention, and it changed her life. Now she's about to get a master's degree, and she's going to be a school counselor.
So amazing.
Her story easily could have been the same as my brother's, where she pushed it down, suffered in silence, and turned to self-medication, as so many do. But she got that help at such an early age, and we made sure she lived in an environment that was free of stigma and wasn't making her feel defined by her mental illness. So we really focus on that education. So I go into schools, especially as Miss Pennsylvania, I went all around the state, going into schools, just teaching kids about where to get that intervention and how to recognize the signs in themselves and others so that they can get intervention as early as possible and really learn how to take care of their mental health, because all of us have mental health. All of us need to take care of ourselves. We all go through things. So I think it was just important to start that conversation, let people know that it's okay, and where to get help and how to talk about these things if they find themselves in a situation where they are in crisis and need help.
100%. I feel like being raised as a millennial, mental health was like something you didn't talk about, and being raised in an Asian household, like you just don't talk about that stuff. You're going to be fine, just fake it till you make it. And that's very, very toxic. So I think everyone talks bad about social media and they say it's bad for your mental health. But for me, I've noticed a shift in like how society plays a role in mental health. And I feel like everyone's talking about it on social media, and that's kind of making it okay and more acceptable. Do you feel the same way?
Absolutely. I'd say especially since I started my own journey as a mental health advocate. I started when I was a teenager. I was like 14 when I was talking about mental health. And I think even back then it was still a little bit more stigmatized, but even in my journey through pageants and mental health, I've seen a lot more conversation about mental health in general. I think there's still a long way to go in breaking the stigma. We still have trouble, when I walk into a room, especially in a Crown, and I start talking about things like the opioid crisis and addiction, people are always shocked to find that I've been affected by that I'm talking about things like that. People still consider
they
it
think you're perfect.
A little too dark and taboo to talk about. So it's been really important to me, especially in that space, and wearing a crown on my head. I call it a megaphone rather than a hat. You walk into a room with it, and people listen, and
Mhm.
bringing a topic to the table like that people aren't really expecting and still aren't really talking about has been one of the most important things to me through pageants.
What's the best way that our audience can get involved or just be a little bit more aware about what other people might be going through before judging too quickly?
It's simply asking someone if they're okay. I know it seems simple, but sometimes you just need someone to ask. And especially those friends who are doing it all. They seem
It's
great.
always your strong
Your
friend.
strong, check
Yeah.
on your strong friends. Ask if they're okay, because sometimes it just takes someone asking. People just assume they're okay.
Yeah.
No one's ever asking them. So just ask them, hey, how you doing lately?
Mhm.
Even they probably won't seem anxious or depressed, and they could be dealing with something behind closed doors. So just simply extend that olive branch and ask someone how they're doing, and you'd be surprised to see that they're willing to open up when they see that someone cares and that someone's asking them.
Yeah.
And recognizing that they're not perfect. It's refreshing when someone says to you, I know you're not perfect, and you are allowed to be not perfect with me and be honest with me.
Right.
It's really refreshing.
Do you have moments where like you share like your vulnerabilities and like let people know that you're not perfect or
Yeah.
yeah.
That's especially in recent years, I think I've come to develop that, because my platform started talking about my siblings and talking about the diagnosed mental illness side of things. But
Mhm.
especially as I continued in pageants and a TV career, I started dealing with some serious anxiety myself. And I've had to go to therapy. We all do. So I
Yeah.
think talking about that is really important. And it means a lot to people, especially when someone who is in a position where they have a platform and have people looking up to them, to let people know that I go through the same things that you do, and you are certainly not alone in the
Yeah.
way that you're feeling.
100%. And you do have a career in TV, so I do want to talk about that a little bit. How did you get started? How did you realize that you wanted to be a TV host?
I'd say it was actually mostly through pageants.
Yeah.
So I was doing pageants surrounded by women who were pursuing careers in TV. It's often a
Mhm.
natural transition from pageants to television,
Yeah,
the speaking skills.
definitely.
I actually, as a kid, was really shy. Before I started doing pageants, I would
Really?
hide behind my mom when
I would
strangers
never
tried to
know.
hide pageants. I would hide behind my mom when strangers tried to talk to me, but
Wow.
I really kind of grew into myself through pageants, and I discovered that I loved public speaking and it was something that I was good at. So
Oh
people
my
kind of
gosh.
started telling me, you should go into this. I had a teacher in high school that was like, I think you really should pursue broadcasting. You'd be really good at it. And I saw so many pageant women around me, so I started asking them if I could shadow them. So I started
Wow.
shadowing them. I started doing the morning announcements at my high school, just little
Oh
my
my
little high
gosh.
school. I graduated with like 120 people, but it was experience, and I decided that that was the route I wanted to go. So I studied communications and journalism in school. I graduated. I thought I wanted to go the hard news reporter route, so I started as a morning news reporter in Rehoboth Beach,
Oh
Delaware.
my
1 a.m. wake up
gosh.
calls,
Oof.
at work by 3, standing outside in the freezing cold in the winter, doing
Oh my
like 8
gosh.
live shots for the morning show. So I did that, and I realized I didn't love the hard news part of it, the death and despair and
And waking up
city
at 1 in the
council meetings.
morning.
It wasn't necessarily my favorite thing. I wanted to do kind of more lifestyle and entertainment type
Mhm.
of thing. So I started doing different gigs here and there. I was a spokesperson for a classic auto mall in my
Wow.
hometown, doing a bunch of things. And then I actually landed in the position I'm currently in kind of by accident. After my years, so I stepped away from reporting for a little bit to fulfill my year as Miss Pennsylvania. That was my full-time job for a year.
Mhm.
And then once I gave up my title, I kind of dabbled in different things for a year, was struggling to find somewhere that I really wanted to stay.
Yeah.
And I saw a LinkedIn notification for a traffic anchor position in Philly. That's all it said. It didn't say where, but it said TV traffic anchor. I was like,
Wow.
okay, traffic seemed fun. It's not your hard news. You can have a little bit more personality with traffic. And I had actually interviewed for a traffic position closer to my hometown a couple months before, and I didn't get it. So I was feeling discouraged, but I applied for this traffic anchor position, having no idea what it was. I got an interview. And at the end of the interview, I, casually asked, so like, what station is this for? It turned out it was for the number one TV station in Philadelphia that I grew up watching with my grandmother all the
Oh my
time, with like these
gosh.
Philly legends that I watched on TV.
Wow.
So initially I was like, oh, I'm never getting that job. All right, well, it was fine. At least I interviewed for it. Like, that's cool to say. Then I ended up getting called back for an audition, and I got the job. So
Oh
now
my
I'm
gosh.
working as a traffic anchor in Philadelphia, where I wanted to be, my hometown station, and the station I grew up watching.
Yeah.
a dream. And I found it by happy accident.
Oh
So
my
talk about
gosh.
trusting in timing. So many things were going wrong, not going wrong for me, but I'd applied
It's
to things I had
challenges.
gotten
Yeah.
rejected, opportunities I thought I really wanted.
And then God
And
was like, I have something better for
it
you.
was like, just you wait.
So you're on ABC 6, right? That's
Yes.
major.
Yeah.
Have you met any like celebrities or like interviewed people where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm like with them
And
right
not
now?
celebrities. I wish. I mean, some of the people I work with feel like
Mhm.
celebrities to me because I grew up
You're the
watching them. They're
celebrity.
the people I looked up to. So it's
Yeah.
really cool. But one day I'd love to be interviewing celebrities.
Yeah, that would be so
Justin
fun.
Bieber. It's
Oh
my
my
dream
god.
interview.
Speaking of mental health, I hope he's
Yes,
okay.
yes,
He's going
definitely.
through it right now.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, that would be amazing. And I feel like you could do more than just interview him. You can share your message and have a little talk about mental health with him.
absolutely.
Yeah. So back to pageantry. I know you're kind of going into entrepreneurship now and you're gonna have your own coaching business. Tell
Yeah.
me about that.
So, brand new venture. I just a few
Yeah.
weeks ago officially started a pageant coaching business called Triple Crown Pageant Consulting. So, named after the 3 state titles that I won
Love
throughout my
that.
journey in
Mm-hmm.
pageants. And it's kind of something I always knew I wanted to do because I had so many incredible coaches and mentors in my journey through pageants. And I know I never would have achieved what I did or become the person that I did without those people. And they were so transformative in my life. So I knew I wanted to give back and be able to do that for other women in
Mm-hmm.
one way or another. And I had so much interest, especially after Miss America and now after Miss USA. I've had girls DMing me saying, "Hey, do you coach? I'd love to work with you." And
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I had so much interest. I said, I think I could really make a business out of this and a really great side hustle. So I went for it. I started the business and hit the ground running. I already have several clients
Oh,
and
that's amazing. I'm so happy to hear
yeah,
that. I feel like pageantry just opens so many doors and
it
like
really
the network that
does.
it creates for you. So, follow-up question on that. What is the best pageant coaching advice that you've received that helped you set yourself apart while you're
Oh,
competing?
goodness. Well, walking coaching changed my life,
Oh, that's
certainly early on
good.
in the game. But I think in interview coaching in particular, and it's one of the big things that I am telling my clients now is for interview in particular, we get so caught up in giving the perfect answer and
Mhm.
saying the perfect thing. And so often it's so much more about how you say something than what you say in an interview and leaving the judges with an impression. So it's going with your honest answer, talking like you would if you were doing a podcast. It's not, like you're the press secretary up there giving a speech, you're
Yeah.
just you talking
Mhm.
to someone, and that's what you need to channel. And I think I found, especially as a pageant coach, on the other side of things, I've been asked to coach some pageants. And when I'm judging for interview, a lot of times I don't remember exactly what a contestant said or the way she said something, but I remember how what she said made me feel. And I remember her vibe and that I
Wow.
liked her. And I liked the way she was speaking with conviction. So don't get so caught up in saying the perfect words in your interview, because when you do that, I think you can sound a little too pageant patty, and focus
Yeah.
more on, it's cliche, but showing the judges who you are through your answers.
I have to second that for our audience because I went through a phase where I was judging so many pageants, and when you get a pageant patty, it's almost scary. I'm
Yeah.
like, is there
It's like, I just
anybody
want to know who you
home?
are.
Like, I
You
want to
don't
see
have
the
to give me, I don't care
personality.
if you give me a silly, imperfect
Yeah,
answer. Just show
I
me who you
know.
are.
Yeah, when you get too rehearsed and like they're like, you can tell they practiced, it's just
Mm-hmm.
not authentic, and that's not what we want to look for in a queen. So that's actually really good advice. And just be yourself. It goes back to square one where we started the podcast. Just be yourself and stay
Yeah,
true to yourself, and that's what wins.
absolutely.
I love that. So before we wrap everything up, I want to know, what are your highlights as Miss Delaware USA?
Oh, so many. Well, I'm so lucky. I have 3 bonus months as Miss Delaware
Yes,
USA. So I
love
got very
that.
lucky. I was originally supposed to crown the next Miss Delaware USA a couple weeks ago, but we pushed our pageant to June, which means I have a little bonus opportunity. There's actually some appearances I'm going to end up doing twice because I won in April last year and have a little bit of extra time. So that'll be cool to get
Oh,
to go to the same
cool.
appearance twice
Yeah.
and kind of reconnect with people. I have to say though, I've done some really special things as Delaware. Delaware is a state where it feels like everyone's neighbors. It's such a small state. It's really about community. So I've loved kind of just getting to meet the people of Delaware. Everywhere you go, it feels like you know someone. And I've gotten to do some great things with my platform. I got to speak at an event benefiting mental health, a couple events. I've gotten to connect with some mental health organizations throughout Delaware that I'm excited to keep partnering with.
Wow.
Got to do our iconic, it's iconic in Delaware, the Sea Witch Parade in Rehoboth Beach. It's a big deal. Halloween weekend.
Ooh, a Sea Witch Parade.
Halloween Sea Witch, big deal down in Delaware. So it was really cool to do that. And I actually got to re-wear my state costume from Miss USA. Because you wear a costume.
What was your
costume?
costume?
I got to repurpose it. I was a diamond. Delaware is the diamond state.
Ooh.
So I was decked out in diamonds and wore a giant diamond on my head.
Why is it the diamond state? Are there diamonds there?
There aren't. I wish. I mean, they sell them, but it's actually Thomas Jefferson, I believe, a former president, called it a diamond in the rough. It was like this hidden gem on the eastern seaboard. A lot of people forget about Delaware, but it's actually really beautiful, and it's this hidden gem. So it was dubbed the Diamond State.
Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to wrap everything up with a fun this or that portion. So you can just tell me what you prefer more. The first one is easy. Heels or sneakers?
Heels. Always.
Of course. On-stage question or swimsuit?
I like on-stage question. I feel like I'm rare in that way, but
You're very rare.
I've always really loved on-stage question. I like a challenge.
Yeah. You're so great at public speaking. I'm like, definitely swimsuit.
Thank you. And I love speaking. I'll put a microphone in front of me. I'll talk forever. That's my problem with on-stage question, though. I need to wrap it up.
Oh, the bell dings. Early mornings or late nights?
I think of early mornings and I think those early news mornings. So certainly not that. We'll go with late nights.
Love it. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Or Celsius?
Oh. I think Celsius would be my first choice.
I had to ask because I see it right there.
It's just lighter
than
girl. Coffee.
That's true. Yeah. City life or small town vibes?
Oh, there's a time and a place for both. I'd say overall small town vibes. I was raised in a small town. I like living day to day in a small town, but like big city occasionally. Like I go into the city for work. I love it. Small doses. It's great, but I like to go back home to my small town after.
Love that. Curling iron or straightener?
Curling iron, always.
You're such a pageant girl. I love it.
I know.
It's the best. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you'd be a TikTok.
No, I'm not really a TikToker. I'm older. Well, not older, but
no, you're not.
I feel like on the Instagram, like Instagram was really the hot thing when I was in like middle school.
That's true. Instagram, like
really
we're established there. TikTok
Yes.
is like you don't know what is going on, right?
Yeah.
It's like the Wild West. Gown or cocktail dress?
Gown.
Road trip or flight?
What was that?
Road trip or flying?
Oh, flying. I don't want to sit in a car for hours.
Summer or winter?
Summer, always.
Yeah.
I hate winter.
Reality TV or true crime documentary?
Reality TV.
Texting or calling?
It depends who it is. My mom, I prefer to pick up the phone and call because we're yapping about anything and everything. But I feel like in general, I'm more of a texter.
Yeah, I'm definitely a texter. Sparkles or solids? I think I know the answer to this one.
You'll never guess. Sparkles.
Of course. Pageant prep or post-pageant glow?
Oh, pageant prep.
Yeah.
Post-pageant is sad.
I know. I
There's
feel like
nothing
it's like
sadder
a hangover.
than it is. Than getting home from
depression.
all the glam's over.
Yeah.
All that you worked for, and it's just a few days and then it's all done.
I agree. Live TV or a pre-recorded segment?
I have to say live TV since
Really?
That's what I do for a living.
That is what you do. I'm like pre-recorded all the way. Just in case
but when I
stuff
record
out.
things, I get way too picky and I end up recording things like a 30-second clip for 30 minutes. And
oh my gosh.
I don't need that. I just need to get it over and done. And I do well under pressure.
Yeah, I can tell. Awesome. So where can our audience follow you on social media to keep up with everything you're doing?
So they can follow me on my personal Instagram at Alysa Bainbridge, Alysa with one S, ALYSABAIN, Bridge. They can follow Triple Crown Pageants to follow my new pageant coaching journey, or if they're interested in coaching. And if they're interested in following my nonprofit, you can follow Tyler's Triumph.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
Thanks for having me. This was awesome.